Still getting the hang of the Zoom meetings. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the February 10th meeting of the Pension Subcommittee. We have a packed agenda today. Looks like 7 bills and just under an hour to get them done. So we will begin with Senate Bill 458. Senator Griffith is here. This is the Maryland Teachers and State Employees Supplemental Retirement Plans, Use of Minority Business Enterprises. Senator Griffith.
Good morning, Madam Chair, colleagues. Melanie Griffith for the record, Senator representing District 25. Presenting Senate Bill 458 for your consideration. Basically, the need for the bill came to my attention this interim during work with the Joint Committee on Pensions. Madam Chair Elfreth and co-chair from the House side we were in a meeting and a report came across my desk from the MSRP that had a lot of NAs and zeros in response to questions related to their work with minority businesses. And so we began to do a deep dive, and that led to the introduction of Senate Bill 458. I'd like to first have introduced the bill for your consideration. My legislative aide, Najee Bailey, who's been working with me on this all interim and who was a fellow in budget and tax last year. So I thought it would be nice to have him be able to say a few words on the bill. I'll turn it over to Najee, and then Madam Chair, with your permission, we'll go to Ms. Bell, who will speak for the agency. Najee?
Thank you, Senator Griffith. Good morning, Madam Chair, Alfred, and members of the Pension Subcommittee. I'm pleased to present Senate Bill 458. In 2012, the Maryland General Assembly passed Senate Bill 343 to require certain departments and commissions, including the Maryland Teachers and State Employees Supplemental Retirement Plans, to attempt to use minority business enterprises to the greatest extent feasible to provide brokerage and investment management services. This 2012 legislation asked the MSRP to report on information that is inconsistent with the board's reporting practices. Senate Bill 458 will amend State Personnel and Pensions Section 35-302 to ensure reporting that is consistent with the practices of the Maryland Teachers and State Employees Supplemental Retirement Plans. Thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 348, and I respectfully request a favorable report.
Well done. Thank you so much. Ms. Bell.
Hi, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I thank you for giving us this opportunity on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Maryland Supplemental Retirement Plans. We are pleased to discuss Senate Bill 458 and issue very strong support for this bill. This is outlined in the written testimony that I submitted. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all of that. I will just say that this will clean up the legislation that's in place already. This will simplify our reporting requirements and will basically align what we actually contract with the language in the law. So we also did receive the amendment that DGS submitted, and we fully support that. That is not going to change anything that we would like to see in a material way. So with that, I just say that we support this and we hope that we have a favorable report. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Any questions for Senator Griffith or Ms. Bell?
Madam Chair, if I could just add to the committee. First, I want to thank former Secretary Foster and Ann Gothrop, and former Treasurer Nancy Kopp, who all helped with the background on this bill, and to say that the DGS amendment basically we have some reporting requirements, and this puts the reporting requirements consistent with their eMaryland marketplace. And so we're in favor of those amendments as well.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, Senator Griffith, I think you'll make your 9:15. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Thank you, Najee.
Thank you.
Okay, I was remiss to make 2 quick announcements at the top. First, thank you to Mr. Novin and Ms. Gothrop from the system for being with us as always. Thank you. And folks, the testimony materials will not be found on your floor system. They will have been emailed to you last night. We apologize for the technical glitch. Please let us know if you do not have them and we will get them to you. Okay. With that, we'll move on to Senator Jackson, Senate Bill 231, Correctional Officers Retirement System. Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Pension Subcommittee, Senate Bill 231, Correctional Officers Retirement System membership, is a straightforward bill whose aim is to add a few positions within the Maryland Department of Juvenile Services to the Correctional Officers Retirement System. It should be an amendment on your computer or in your hands, hopefully, which clarifies the position classifications added, which would be Case Manager Specialist 1, 2, and 3, Case Management Specialist Supervisor, Case Management Specialist Program Supervisor, and Group Managers 1 and 2. Since its establishment in 1974, the Correctional Officers Retirement System has been in place to recognize the gravity of the work of those who participate in the correctional services and the related stresses of their jobs entail. The nature of the work done by these individuals in the Department of Juvenile Services is often vigorous and taxing, including unusual hours and extensive travel to visit with clients, families, courts, and other law enforcement officials. These individuals are critical members of the Maryland Correctional Services infrastructure with similar job duties to those who already participate in the system. And Madam Chair, I'd like to mention as well as to members on the committee, I have had, over my 8 years in the General Assembly, have had an extensive relationship through the Ms. Gothrup and the retirement folks, as well as with our correctional services folks. With difficulties in finding and retaining qualified individuals for these positions, the benefits added by this bill will prove invaluable in recruitment retention efforts of the Juvenile Services Department, both now and going forward. So with that, Madam Chair and members of the committee, I'm requesting a favorable report, as well as, and I will stand for questions with the panel at their conclusion. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. I have Ms. Watson and Mr. Kilpatrick, both from AFSCME Council 3. And you can start in whichever order you'd like.
I will go first. Thank you, Madam Chair. Much appreciated. Members of the committee, for the record, my name is Lance Kilpatrick. I'm the Legislative and Political Director for AFSCME Council 3, representing approximately 30,000 state and higher education employees across Maryland. First off, I want to thank Senator Jackson for his great work on this. We have had some bill drafting challenges, not just this year, but also when he was a delegate and introduced this legislation. So it's been a fascinating ride from that standpoint. But I want to thank him again for all his patience and diligence. As the senator stated, this is a situation where folks who should have been put in 2018 into the correctional officers retirement system were not. Case management specialists essentially do what a parole and probation agent does within DPSCS. The only difference is that it's a juvenile clientele as opposed to an adult clientele. The education requirements and training, things of that nature, are virtually the same. I could go into more detail, but I have someone who's literally living and breathing this job assignment in my great AFSCME activist, Ashley Watson. So I'm going to turn it over to her. But I also want to stress one other thing that the senator mentioned as well. We do not see this change as a deterrent to being able to hire more people in these very hard to fill positions. We see it as an asset to doing this. And Lord knows, since COVID, a very stressful and challenging job has just become even more stressful and challenging going forward. So we ask the committee for a favorable report on this. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my good friend and member, Ashley Watson.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of this committee. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me today. My name is Ashley Watson. I'm a case management specialist for the Department of Juvenile Services. I'm also a proud member of AFSCME Local 3167. I worked for the department for approximately 14 years. Although being a case manager for at-risk youth is a rewarding career, it can also be very dangerous. As a case manager, we not only have to rehabilitate the at-risk youth, but often the family as a whole. Case management specialists are responsible for these youth on a daily basis in DJS facilities, courthouses, schools, and now more and more in the neighborhoods, which have become extremely dangerous. A case management specialist is basically a juvenile probation officer. We oversee the conditions of probation for our youth, as well as reintegrating families and communities back together. When meeting the needs of the youth, we encounter serious obstacles. Most of our youth have serious mental health issues stemming from multiple traumas that have occurred in their life, making it hard to address their needs. This requires that case managers work diligently, long, endless hours on caseloads to ensure the youth are getting proper education, therapy, and many other things that are intertwined to ensure their complete rehabilitation. While parole and probation officers and DJS case managers require the same education and training, I believe that DJS case managers carry greater responsibility for engaging at-risk youth than what a probation officer faces with an adult. We are often responsible for guiding and advising them on daily life choices. It is more than just explaining their condition of probation and sending them back into community. DJS case managers often have heavy loads due to shortage of staff that is brought on by losing great and dedicated people to other agencies that offer 20-year retirement with smaller caseload and less responsibility. Sorry, if anyone on this committee knows about working with the youth population, the first step forward to success is getting them to trust you. With the state in a staffing crisis, we are losing case managers at a higher rate than before, making it hard for these youth to successfully complete their probation because they have to learn to re-trust their future with different case managers on a consistent basis. While those challenges are still continuing today during COVID-19 has presented even more challenges, causing a higher turnover rate, as well as giving little to no stability to the youth we serve in Maryland. I ask this committee to support this bill because it will help retain staff. It'll also help Maryland's youth. They deserve to work with the most dedicated case management specialists that Maryland has to offer. This bill is one less obstacle our youth have to deal with when being rehabilitated in the Maryland juvenile justice system. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Watson, for all of your work. And as the daughter of a very proud juvenile probation officer, I appreciate everything that you do. Thank you. Okay. Any questions for Ms. Watson, Mr. Kilpatrick, or Senator Jackson on Senate Bill 231? Okay. Thank you. Senator, you are still up with Senate Bill 346, State Police Retirement System Deferred Retirement Option Program alterations.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thanks for that tidbit. I did not know, so it's good. It's good to know that another member of our public safety family is amongst us. So that's terrific. Madam Chair and fellow subcommittee members, for the record, Senator Michael Jackson, on behalf of Senate Bill 346. Senate Bill 346 increases the maximum number of years that members of the state police retirement system have to participate in the Deferred Retirement Option Program, which is commonly referred to as DROP, from 30 years to 32 years, and makes the required corresponding changes to that effect. Most officers represented in the State Law Enforcement Officers Labor Alliance, commonly known as LEOLA, are a part of the law enforcement officers pension system. The Maryland State Police max out potential benefits at 28 years of service, while those at other agencies within LEOPS max out at roughly 32 and a half years. If a state police officer presently participates in the drop retirement option program, they must leave the agency at 30 years, while with law enforcement professionals at other agencies can continue to earn multipliers for another 2.5 years. This proposal would put the Maryland State Police on par.
Senator, I hate to interrupt you, but we can't see you, and there was just a rustling of paper. So I think maybe you're
sorry.
There you go. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Let me pick up. I apologize, everyone. If the state police officer presently participates in the DROP program, they must leave the agency at 30 years, while the law enforcement professionals of other agencies can continue for an additional 2.5 years. This proposal would put the Maryland State Police on par with the majority of other agencies within the LEOP system, law enforcement officers pension system, and allow them to reap the corresponding retirement benefits by reaching 32 years of service. Because of my professional background, the recruitment and retention of effective law enforcement officers is a very important issue to me. I'm a firm believer that strong agencies require strong leadership of effective officers. I've heard from numerous former colleagues about the issues they're facing across the country. Those directing agencies are struggling to keep departments fully staffed as resignations increase and hiring gets tougher in today's competitive labor markets. I recently came across the Police Executive Research Forum a think tank out of Washington, D.C., which many of us in the business refer to for necessary information in our field. Study of over 200 police agencies. The study showed that industry-wide, the resignation rate per 100 officers was up 18% between April 2020 and March 2021 compared with the year prior. At the same time, the rate of retirements also rose roughly 45%. With state police recruitment and retention efforts significantly lagging, Maryland State Police applications are also down 33% over the last year. This legislation would offer a cost-neutral enhancement to assist those efforts to recruit new officers and to retain experienced law enforcement officers. Madam Chair, members of the committee, I ask for a favorable report, and I will stand for questions with our panel at the conclusion, and I apologize for the technical difficulties.
It's okay. It's a tradition here in pensions. We always have some type of Zoom snafu. It's okay. All right. I have a number of people signed up to testify. Mr. Gill, Mr. Lewis, and Mr. Gill is from the SLEOLA, State Law Enforcement Officers Labor Alliance, as is Mr. Lewis. So you can present in whichever order you'd like.
That's fine. I'll go first. Good morning, Madam Chair and other members of the committee. I'm First Sergeant Brian Gill with the Maryland State Police, and currently the president of State Law Enforcement Officers Labor Alliance, as you know, is SLEOLA. SLEOLA is the exclusive bargaining rep for approximately 1,800 active law enforcement officers in the state. I'm here to testify in support of Senate Bill 346. It is an important bill, legislation that will allow for experienced state troopers to stay basically an additional 2 years before being have to retire. These experienced troopers provide a wealth of knowledge, and they're an asset to teach the new incoming troopers. And nationwide, law enforcement is struggling to hire, retain new officers, and this bill would help alleviate some of the staffing shortages that are soon to be caused. And briefly, I'd just like to thank Senator Jackson for his continuing support and ask the committee for a favorable support on the bill. Vice President Dave Lewis is going to speak as a little more stats for you. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis. You're on mute. Oh, you're still on mute. There we go.
Sorry about that. Just par for the course. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. Also like to thank Senator Jackson, our supporter of the bill. My name is Dave Lewis. I'm currently a first sergeant with the Maryland State Police, and I'm currently the vice president of SLEOLA. SLEOLA is the exclusive representative for the Maryland State Police. I'm asking you for a favorable report on Senate Bill 346. There is a nationwide trend of police agencies' inability to hire and retain officers. Senator Jackson already pointed out one of the major nationwide surveys, and the Maryland State Police is not exempt from these numbers. Our current numbers, our retirements are up 28%, and our applications are down 33%. With the inability to recruit and maintain officers, we feel this bill would be an enhancement to attract new officers and to keep experienced officers. Most incentives have costs associated with them, whether it's a signing bonus or an increase in salary. However, according to the fiscal note presented by the Department of Legislative Services on this bill, it shows a savings of $250,000. In fact, it was $260,000 in 2024. Then it went up to a savings of $270,000 in 25 and 26, and then $280,000 in fiscal year 2027. So we are hoping you can appreciate our efforts to find incentives that don't burden the legislature with increased spending. Prior to seeking the assistance of Senator Jackson, we did reach out to the State Retirement Agency to confirm that they didn't have any concerns. And we were told that the lawyers looked it over and they found no impact on the pension fund. There has been widespread support amongst the troops in support of this bill. However, to be as transparent as possible, I will inform you that we had one concern brought to our attention. This was from the Coalition of Black Maryland State Troopers. They have expressed concern with the bill, feeling that this could hinder future promotions. We recognize the coalition has concerns with respect to this proposal, and we have scheduled a meeting with them next Monday, February 14th. We look forward to being able to address any of their concerns and point out the advantages of this bill. I thank each and every one of you for your time and consideration for the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Any questions for Mr. Lewis, Mr. Gill, or Senator Jackson?
Ma'am, I think Tonya Adams with the Troopers Association, I thought she had signed up, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't have her, but if she's here, Ms. Adams, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Sergeant Tonya Adams with the Maryland State Police. I'm representing the Maryland Troopers Association this morning. The MTA represents both active and retired members of the Maryland State Police. Applications to the Maryland State Police have decreased 33% over the last year. This proposed alteration to the DROP program would significantly benefit the state in retaining troopers who have 25 plus years of experience, knowledge, and expertise, as well as assist in new recruiting. Troopers devote their lives to serving the citizens of Maryland, and this legislation has the potential to benefit the retirement savings of our MTA members. This is not only well-deserved for the protectors of our state, but it could also be an incentive for recruitment and retention within the Maryland State Police. This is why the MTA supports Senate Bill 346 and urge a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Any questions for the panel? Okay, I would like to thank Ms. Gothrop for walking me through DROP over the fall, and I would encourage any subcommittee members to reach out to Ms. Gothrop. I know she would love to explain in depth the DROP program to any members. Okay, thank you, Senator Jackson.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Senate Bill 402, Employees Retirement and Pension Systems Reemployment Earnings Limitation COVID-19 Exemption, and this is a bill that came to us from the administration. And I am going to start with Mr. Casserly since I can see you. Is that okay? Would you like to begin? You're on mute. There we go.
Are we off? Very
Yes.
good. Good morning, Madam Chair and esteemed committee members. Let's thank you. For the record, Andrew Casserly from the governor's staff. I come before you today to present Senate Bill 402, which is the Employees Retirement Earnings Limitation for COVID-19 Exemption. Joining me today on my panel is Mr. Mark Nicole from the Department of Budget Management. Committee members, as the global pandemic ravaged across our state, it had a major impact on our ability to provide services to our citizens. With many of our frontline workers impacted by the COVID-19, the governor's executive order called for assistance from our retired citizens to help fill those gaps. Senate Bill 402 allows those who stepped out of retirement to provide critical services to avoid any negative impacts to their current retirement plans. It's a fairly simple bill. I'll turn it over to Mr. Nicole to give a little background.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Mark Nicole, Deputy Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management. As Andrew said, the bill does provide an exception to the earnings limit for two classes of employees. One are for individuals in the Maryland Department of Labor who have assisted with the provision of benefits related to the COVID-19 pandemic. The second group of individuals are folks working in the Maryland Department of Health who have helped with the administration of federal grant funds. I would say this latter group was very supportive of the Maryland Department of Budget Management. We've worked with them very closely. In total, we believe that this bill provides relief for 7 individuals who have sort of stepped out of retirement to help the state in a difficult time. And we are aware that the Maryland Department of Health will be offering an amendment that sort of provides for 1 additional employee to receive this benefit. We ask for the committee's favorable report on the bill with the amendment that will be recommended by the Department of Health.
Thank you. Okay, I'll take questions for Mr. Casserly or in this panel if anybody has one before we move on to favorable with amendments. Okay, then I have 2 people signed up, Ms. Scheck and Ms. McMahon from the Department of Health. You can begin in whatever order you'd like.
Great. Thank you so much. Good morning, Madam Chair and subcommittee members. thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Bill 402 with, as Mr. Nicole stated, slight technical amendments. For the record, my name is Heather Scheck. I am the Director of Governmental Affairs at the Department of Health, and I am joined by my colleague, Jennifer McMahon. She's the Director of Human Resources at the department. She's not going to be providing any testimony, but she will be available for questions if the committee has any. So as you just heard from Mr. Castley and Mr. Nicole, Senate Bill 402 seeks to exempt certain retirees of the employees' retirement and pension systems from a reemployment earnings limitation. And the department has proposed two friendly amendments just in order to appropriately capture all the retired state employees who return to state service at MDH. The specific amendments were included with our written testimony. I believe the committee has them, but if not, I'm happy to send them again. The first amendment just clarifies that an individual was a previous state employee. It removes the requirement of employment at a specific agency. And then the second amendment clarifies that the employee was engaged in any COVID-19 related activity, not just those funded by a federal grant, because there were other pots of monies that were used for our response. And so again, very technical friendly amendments to capture one additional employee. The state's response to the pandemic, especially at the Department of Health, was an all hands on deck situation. I can tell you from personal experience, for probably the first year of the pandemic, we were working 14, 15-hour days, 7 days a week. And so, the ability to hire individuals who already had working institutional knowledge and were willing to come out of retirement in the middle of a pandemic to help was critical. And so, at the time they were rehired, we could not have imagined the path that the pandemic would take. And so we want to avoid the unintended consequence of the negative impact of them, helping us out. And without this bill, they could be penalized for that. So as such, the department respectfully requests a favorable report on Senate Bill 402 with our slight technical amendments. And I am happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scheck. Any questions? Okay, I will just let the committee know that we have a number of written testimony, favorable amendment, and an unfavorable that should be in your packet. Okay, thank you. We will move on to Senate Bill 409, State Retirement and Pension System COVID-19 related death benefits sunset extension. And Philip, I'll take the lead on this. This is a bill the Joint Committee on Pensions should be, and members of the Pension Subcommittee are very familiar with. We passed this bill last year to allow for state employees who were exposed to COVID-19 and passed away within that 14-day or contracted it within that 14 days to allow them to have an expedited death benefit, a line of duty death benefit. The Joint Committee received a report from the system over the fall, and we're happy to get that. It should be in the fiscal note, but we're also happy to provide that to the committee. What Senate Bill 409 does, it simply extends that for an additional year. Philip, did I miss anything?
Nope. Yeah, as you said, the bill, it created a streamlined, consistent process for everybody in the situation. And then we will have an amendment when we discuss to do a technical fix to correct some of the dates that need to be updated.
Senator McCray.
Madam Chair, I listened very intently to you. I know that we heard this bill during the fall.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question is for council, would it be appropriate to move on Senate Bill 409 at this time since we heard it during fall?
We do have Lance Kilpatrick here from AFSCME who would like to testify. Senator, I appreciate your enthusiasm for this bill. I share it. Senator Jackson, can Mr. Kilpatrick testify? And then, okay, Mr. Kilpatrick. But you heard the enthusiasm, so I think you know what to do.
I did, and my heart is warmed by Senator McCray's robust enthusiasm for this. I wish, however, it was not such a sad topic that we were dealing with, and the fact that we need legislation to be extended for something like this. Just yesterday, I got word that one of our members at Eastern Correctional Institute has passed, we believe due to COVID. We're starting the process now to work with the state retirement system to get that process moving. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the committee for all its work on this, for their dedication and engagement. It's a horrible situation we're in. I also want to take a moment to just say, death isn't the only thing that COVID causes. There's a lot of other things that are falling under this large umbrella called long COVID. And I'm working with the committee and staff to hopefully bring about future policy regarding this as we learn more and more. And I want, again, to thank the committee for its dedication and desire to address this situation in whatever way they can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kilpatrick. And we also have written testimony favorable from the Maryland State Education Association. Senator Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to also express my enthusiasm for this bill. And, in my previous life as your joint chair, co-chair, for pensions, the House of Delegates also has a very enthusiastic about this. I think along with, our analyst, Philip Anthony and the pension folks, I think this is terrific for us. And just to address what Mr. Kilpatrick mentioned, while this subcommittee may not be the place for your last comment, there's a piece of legislation that's moving through. I am the sponsor regarding some other effects of COVID. So let's stay in touch. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Senator Craig, would you like to wait for the motion until we hear all three joint committee bills? Is that possible? Okay, thank you.
Yep, that seems. Yep.
Okay, I think they will go quickly. All right, Senate Bill 410 is up next. I will also take this one. Senate Bill 410 is another bill that the Joint Committee on Pensions heard over the fall and voted to support. We heard a lot of testimony, and the subcommittee is very familiar with the pressures on all of our state employees due to COVID, but particularly amongst our teacher populations. And so there already exists a reemployment process, but it is capped at around, depending on the jurisdiction, around 5 people. What Senate Bill 410 does is it expands as amended. It will expand that cap to 25 per jurisdiction. So the goal here is to allow for teachers who are at the age of retirement but still want to be active in the classroom, for them to remain in service to our state and our children without affecting their pension. Philip, did I miss anything?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. And again, we should have an amendment, or at least I'd like the committee to consider in concept the cap of 25. So we've been moving from 5 to 25, and we think that's a nice, and for 2 years, and we think that's a nice way to kind of transition. And I would love for the Joint Committee, just as a note, to consider other opportunities to address this over the interim. Okay. I have 2 people signed up to testify, Samantha Zwirling from the Maryland State Education Association and Mary Pat Fannin from PSSAM.
Great. Good morning to members of the Pension Subcommittee. My name is Samantha Zwirling, and I'm here on behalf of the Maryland State Education Association, representing 75,000 educators here in Maryland. I'm here today to support SB 410, which would reduce barriers to retired educators working in critical areas of our schools and help address the urgent educator shortage. We thank the Joint Committee on Pensions for their commitment to educators during this time and looking for ways to combat the growing educator shortage. It's imperative that we look at all options to combat the shortage, reduce educator burnout, and continue to provide a quality education that our students deserve. As I testified to the Joint Committee in the fall, we are seeing interest in retirements and resignations like we haven't seen before. In a normal year, Howard County sees about 50 people at their annual retirement seminar. This year, they had over 230. In Washington County, the past 2 school years, there were 92 retirements and many more resignations, when the previous 2 years had seen 72. This bill would help educators who are already retiring or planning to retire still contribute in our school systems. I know the fiscal note assumes that there will be a huge increase in retirements due to this bill, but the fact is that these retirements are happening already. And we are already seeing those folks leave. So this legislation actually gives them a chance to come back into the classroom and contribute to their communities that are really needing it right now. Educators who are retirement eligible are the most seasoned and experienced teachers, and it's important that we keep them in the classroom, not only for the benefits of the student, but so they can help their newer colleagues and teach them the ropes. We're experiencing these staff shortages to an unprecedented level, and unfortunately, it acts as a positive feedback loop. There's a shortage of staff, which puts more pressures on the other ones to fill in, which contributes to burnout, which increases retirements and resignations, which exacerbates the staffing shortage. So this bill is not a silver bullet, but it's one thing that we can do to get at the issue. And one thing that I just wanted to highlight at the end here is that this bill highlights that retirees can come back as substitute teachers. And we think that this would be a perfect role for retirees who aren't able to meet the full demands and coursework required to be a full-time classroom teacher, but still want to contribute in these dire circumstances. We're experiencing that substitute shortage that's made it even worse during the pandemic, when teachers are out quarantining, on maternity leave, or out caring for sick family members. There just aren't enough substitutes to cover the classrooms. And so we know that some systems have already hired full-time substitutes to go from class to class as needed. We hope systems will use the provision under SB 410 to hire these folks as full-time substitutes and to get at the shortage. So for those reasons, we urge a favorable report as amended on SB 410. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Worling. Ms. Fannin, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Mary Pat Fannin. I'm the Executive Director of the Public Schools Superintendents Association of Maryland. I'll be short and sweet. Superintendents support this bill and any initiative that's going to help us fill our incredible amount of vacancies. At the beginning of the school year, we had 1,922 vacancies across the state. And unfortunately, the majority of those, over almost 500, were in special education. So we are at a critical point in needing to hire across the board, but especially in special education. So we appreciate your creativity in thinking about this and look forward to promoting it. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I don't see Mr. Woolhams in the room, but I will let the committee know that we do have written testimony, and I really appreciate the broad breadth of support for this bill. Any questions for myself or the panel? Senator Jackson, I'm going to assume your hand was up from last time, unless you think it was up from last time. Okay. With that, that concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 410, and we'll move on to our final bill of the morning, Senate Bill 502, another joint committee bill, State Retirement and Pension System Administration Clarifications and Corrections, our omnibus bill, as I like to call it. And we have Ms. Gothrop and Mr. Novin here from the system to walk us through it. Ms. Gothrop.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ann Gothrop for State Retirement. I'm here in support of the bill on behalf of the Board of Trustees for the State Retirement and Pension System. As the chair described, it is an omnibus bill. This is a cleanup bill where we found a lot of nits in the code in the last year that we wanted to bring to your attention. Briefly, I'll go through what the bill does. It clarifies that for elections, it codifies our existing practice that only active members in the system, people who are actively employed, can vote for active members to serve on the board. Only active members can be trustees. We can't have anyone else represent that group. The second piece is it corrects an incorrect reference to a survivorship benefit in the state police drop plan. We have found no one has retired we haven't given anyone the incorrect survivorship benefit, so there's nothing that we have to go retroactively back and correct. It provides a consistent reemployment exemption for parole and probation in the correctional officer system, which would mirror what is in the employee's pension system. It removes obsolete prior service purchase provisions in the judge's retirement system that no one has utilized in over 20 years. And then the last provision is it directs the board to accept an application that was properly completed, but improperly notarized because the individual who submitted the application passed away before she had an opportunity to get to correct the notarization issue. We have one amendment we would like to offer to this bill. It would be special legislation at this point for two people. We know we're going to need a more global solution to this because there are going to be other people, but right now we just were alerted to this about a week ago. So we haven't had time to figure out how we want to do it for everyone. We're hoping we might be able to have that to you before the end of the session, but in the event we didn't, we want to get these two people taken care of. The amendment addresses what we believe is an unintended consequence of all the correctional bills you've seen over the last several years, moving groups from the employees' pension system into the correctional officer system. As you know, those members, after they were moved into the correctional officer system, they had the opportunity to either move their employees' pension system time into the correctional officer system, and then they'd have just one big benefit from that plan, or they could leave it in the employees' pension system, and then they'd get two benefits, one from CORS, one from the EPS when they went to retire. If they moved their time in and they just wanted the one benefit, what we found with a lot of the accounts was you have a period of time in the employee's pension system when the member contribution rate is less than what it is in the correctional officer system. So they would owe us the difference for those years of service to make up, to have a parity with the contribution rate. What these two individuals did is they chose to leave their time in the employee's pension system and not move it over. But the problem is now they're disabled and they are applying for a non-line of duty disability, an ordinary disability. But the law requires, in order to apply for a non-line of duty disability, that you have to have at least 5 years of membership service in the plan from which you are applying from. Because these people were moved over, they did not take their time from the employee's pension system. One has almost 2 years of service. The other has almost 3 years of service. So they don't qualify for an ordinary disability. We can't give them a benefit because of that. So what we are recommending in this legislation, in this amendment, if you're interested in accepting it, is that we would take their employees' pension system time at this point and we would move it into the correctional officer system so that they would have more than enough service to be eligible for an ordinary disability. Our thinking behind this was the bills where we have been moving people from the employee system into the correctional officer system, their jobs have not changed. They've been doing the same job all along. And it's only their system that has changed. So it's not like if I left from state retirement and I went to be a trooper and I got disabled in 2 years as a trooper. That has nothing, I haven't been doing the same job all along. These individuals have in fact been doing this. And so we think this would be, it would be fair to them. The one thing I wanted to mention is though, when they begin receiving their disability, the reason I went into the whole issue about the difference in member contribution rates is by moving their time over, we would assess if there is a deficiency between the two contribution rates because we don't want them to get a windfall. We want them, if we move their service over, we want them to be treated like everyone else who has had their service moved over and had to deal with that.
Thank you, Ms. Gothrop. Any questions? It's a bit of a complex amendment,
Yes.
which I think the subcommittee be very willing to consider. In terms of timing, how far away are we from having that amendment?
I could work with Philip today and tomorrow on this and our agency. So I don't see why we couldn't get for these two people.
Okay. I would like the chair of our committee asked us to start moving some bills, and I would like to consider that amendment in concept here for the full committee to take it up next week, if that's possible to have the timing, if the timing works for the system. Okay. Senator Cordeman, do you have a question or would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, Madam Chair. I move that we move the last three bills we heard, Senate Bill 409, 410, and 502 as amended, or as you said, as in concept on that last one. I'd like to move those bills.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Senator Jackson. Okay, so let's take them one at a time because they all have amendments. Senate Bill 409, you have the amendments before you. So motion on the amendments.
I don't know that I have it, but I can share a screen real quick. Just it's the body of the bill was not included in the draft error. Apologies. So it's just updating the cutoff within the body of the bill for the substantive provisions.
Okay. So the date changes.
Correct. This is on the COVID death bill application process.
Is there an emotion on the
Move
amendment?
favorable
Thank
on
you.
amendment.
Second,
Second.
Second.
all favor of the amendment, raise your hands. Okay.
Aye.
And Senate Bill 409 as amended, any motion?
Yes, move to
Okay.
adopt.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor of 409? Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, Senate Bill 410, we have another conceptual amendment, just the cap of 25, which is what we had discussed in joint committee, and all of the folks you heard from today are in favor of that amendment. For amendment concept, thank you, Senator Eckert.
And I actually have that one too. Sorry, Senator.
Oh, perfect. All
Great.
right.
No, that's
Very
fine.
simple. So as introduced, the bill didn't have
Great.
the cap. So we're just specifying for each school system a max of 25 under this for the 2-year window.
We feel
So
like this
that's-
is the right balance and it should reduce the fiscal note. So, okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the amendment?
So moved.
Thank you, Senator Eckert. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor as, I'm sorry, the full 410 as amended. Let's just all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
All right, Senate Bill 502. This is the actual conceptual amendment that Ann will work with Philip on to have prepared for full committee next Wednesday, we're hoping. Okay, nothing like a deadline. Okay. So Senate Bill 502 as amended in concept. Is there a motion?
Move
Motion.
favorable.
All right, move favorable. All right, all in favor of 502 as amended in concept.
Aye.
All right, wonderful work today. Oh, Senator McCray.
I was going to ask you if I can go on record as supporting Senate Bill 409. I know I left quick for a second.
Wonderful. We moved 409, 410, and 502, Senator.
Yep.
Are you in favor
I
of
got
all
for the
three?
last two, all three.
All three. All right. Thank you. You win the award today. All right. So all three of these joint committee bills that the committee's already heard will be on the full committee voting list for Wednesday. And I appreciate everybody's time. We are going to meet at 8:30 on the 24th next. Just I recognize there are scheduling conflicts during this time of session, so we're going to move it back to our original time of 8:30 to help avoid some of those conflicts. We have a number of new bills to hear and discussion of bills we've already heard on the 24th. Okay, with that, Ms. Novin, Mr. Novin, Ms. Gothard, thank you so much for being with us as always. Committee, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.